To talk about Hanukkah, I would like to read from my own book, Accessible Judaism, a Concise Guide, from page 128 to 130. When the Greek Empire was split up after the death of Alexander of Macedonia in the year 323 before the Common Era, the rulers of Palestine made continuous attempts to force our people to give up their own faith and to adopt Greek ideas and customs. Although the majority of the people resisted the attempt to divorce themselves from Judaism, there were some Jewish leaders who helped to introduce pagan practices. However, it was not until the advent in the year 175 before the Common Era of King Antiochus in Syria that force was employed to impose Greek customs and ways of life. This king began to persecute all those Jews who refused to give up the practice of Judaism. He looted the temple and ordered all Jews to bow down to the idols he placed there. These acts precipitated an uprising which led the Hasmonean family of the little town of Modi'in. Modi'in, by the way, it's still it's a town that exists now. It's halfway between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And these Hasmoneans were joined by a small, poorly armed band of Jews, zealous about their faith and God. And they were commanded by the Hasmonean, Judah, called the Maccabee, which means the hammer of God. After several years of fighting, in which they displayed extraordinary courage and faith, Judah and his men drove the Syrians out. On the 25th of the Hebrew month of Kislev, in the year 165 before the Common Era, and it's exactly 3 years after the defilement of the sanctuary of the temple in Jerusalem, they made their entrance into the temple and rededicated it to the service of God. The Talmud records these events thus. When the Hasmoneans prevailed against the Greeks, they searched the temple and found only one cruse of oil, which lay there untouched and undefiled, intact with the seal of the high priest. This cruse contained sufficient oil for 1 day's lighting only. But a miracle was wrought therein, and they lit the lamp with it for 8 days. The following year, these days were appointed a festival for the recital of Hallel and Thanksgiving. We therefore celebrate Hanukkah, the festival of dedication, annually for 8 days, beginning on the 25th of Kislev. We celebrate Hanukkah by kindling the Chanukiah for 8 nights. Those are 2 Chanukiot, different models, and the proper Hebrew word is Chanukiah, but in English people say Hanukkah menorah. And although this candelabrum is generally known as a menorah, it's actually the wrong name. A menorah has 7 branches, symbolizing the 7 days of creation, and that was used at the temple in Jerusalem, while the candelabrum was used to celebrate Hanukkah, has 9 branches. As you can count, there's 8 here for the candles, and 1 set aside, the 8 days of the miracle, and 1 for set aside called the shamash. And here we can see there's 4 here, and 1 set aside for the shamash. The shamash, which is this candle, is not only to light candles with, but also to guard the symbolism of the other candles. The Hanukkah lights should only symbolize the miracle and not be used for any other practical purpose. Therefore, the Chanukiah should be placed so it can be mistaken for a light that has a practical usage. In fact, one should kindle the lights near a window in order to proclaim the miracle. The time of lighting of the Hanukkah lights is immediately at the appearance of the stars at night. This should not be delayed, and one can use candles or oil and whatever one wishes, and they should burn for at least half an hour. Now, and the way we place the candles is like this, and I'm facing myself. For the first day of Hanukkah, one places the shamash, and then the first light. Then on the second day, for instance, you place the shamash, then you place 2 candles, placing the new candle for the day first, and I'm doing this facing me, so that on the 8th day we end up with a Chanukiah like this one, which has all the candles. So again, I'm going to put them out again. Now facing you, facing you would be that you place the shamash, then you put first this candle here, then for the second day, then this candle here. And when one lights them, you light always the first candle that you put in, the one for the newest day, you light first. So you light on the first day, use the shamash to light this one. On the second day, you use the shamash to light this one, and then this one. The order of lighting is as follows. On the first night, the candle on the right end of the candelabrum is lit. On the second night, an additional light is added to the left of that one, and so forth on every consecutive night, with the new candle always being the first one to be lit. Hanukkah may be particularly recognized as a festival recalling a great act of faith, a feast of dedication commemorating the liberation of our people. It symbolizes the struggles of the few against the many, the weak against the strong, the eternal battle of the Jewish people for their faith and existence. In short, it symbolizes the fundamental right to be. The Jews were not fighting to be like the rest, but for the right to be different. They were fighting essentially for a political principle, the idea that a multicultural society should respect, not subordinate, difference. But the historical events also remind us of the importance of Jewish practices or rituals. The king knew that in order to do away with Judaism, he had first to change what Jews did. By changing what Jews did, he knew he could change who Jews were. Hence, the importance of rituals. It's not always enough to feel Jewish in order to preserve Judaism, in much the same way that a home inhabited by a Jew is not the same as a Jewish home. In short, Hanukkah is a celebration of religious freedom. It is worth mentioning that until Israeli Independence Day, Hanukkah was the only celebration of independence for 2,000 years for Jews. Hanukkah reminds us of that oppression as the first historical attempt to eliminate Jewish culture. There had been previously attempts to eliminate Jews, but this time was the attempt to eliminate Judaism itself. Hanukkah calls on the world, even today, to remember the eternal message of the prophet Zechariah that we read in the Haftorah on the Shabbat Hanukkah. Not by might, nor by power, but my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. This is a powerful message against violence and for the power of the spirit and of reason. It also explains that even though in essence Hanukkah celebrates a military victory, it emphasizes the celebration. It's that in the aftermath of this victory, of the spiritual result, the rededication of the temple. It's customary in Hanukkah to eat certain foods who are made with oil. So Ashkenazic Jews will eat potato latkes. Sephardic Jews sometimes will eat donuts because they're fried. Again, it's the idea of the oil. The blessing for lighting the Hanukkah candles is the first blessing. So first one lights the shamash, and the blessings, by the way, are on page 172. And first blessing is Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Lehadlik Ner Shel Chanukah. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctifies us by commandments, has commanded us to kindle the lights of Hanukkah. And then the second one would be Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam She'asa Nisim Lavoteinu Bayamim Ahem Bazman Hazeh. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who brought miracles to our fathers and mothers in days of old at this season. And finally, only on the first night, or the first moment when he's lighting the Hanukkah candles, one recites the Shecheyanu as well. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Shecheyanu V'kiyemanu V'higianu Lazman Hazeh. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who has kept us alive, has preserved us, and enables us to reach this season.